Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning. Welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Marlene Cuellar.
And I'm Asani Cayetano.
And thank you for joining us this morning.
We're coming off, I would say, quite a regular weekend, Marlene. Thankfully, nothing happened, but, you know, the feeling of summer is already here. We had graduations over the weekend, and quite a number of people are out and about celebrating balloons on vehicles. It's a new phenomenon now.
All the motorcades. I'm so glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
That was really interesting to watch. It started last week. We started to see motorcades passing here during the work week. And there were some big graduations here in the city over the weekend, and so you saw people passing with their car dressed up, congratulating their graduate, and of course, the ceremonies itself were streamed online. You now get to see these festivities unfold. It really has been quite a celebration weekend for many. We want to say congratulations to all the graduates across the country. And I always take the opportunity to say, as much as we say congratulations to the graduate, to the families as well.
Definitely.
Who put in quite a bit of work to get them there.
You know, when you're dealing with students, it's an investment that is made by the entire family, right? Because you're looking at hours dedicated to help prepare the student for exams, the regular course of the school year, all of these things. And sometimes we don't feel as if though we're as engaged as we ought to be. But when you look at the final product, which is graduation day, and that rite of passage coming out of one institution and perhaps moving on to another, then you start to feel, well, you know what, I've done quite a lot in terms of the development of the child to become the student and what have you. And so, you know, seeing people over the course of this weekend and they're celebrating the achievement of their son or their daughter or their sibling or what have you, I think it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It's once a year.
every time I hear the graduation song, it always makes you just a bit, it makes me sentimental just because it's such a big moment for families. The graduate themselves, you know, sometimes I think they're excited to be done with that portion of school. But you don't really understand the magnitude of it until much later on. But the parents are always beaming with pride, lots of tears, and you know, I think it's a great moment to be celebrated. What I thought was interesting too, as I reflected on it over the weekend, was how we're still in a pandemic, but even the transition from last year to this year. Last year was all virtual. You know, there was very little, if any, contact, even amidst the graduates themselves. This year, you're seeing more innovative ways in still allowing for graduates to have some time together, at least accepting their diploma in person. Some schools opted for smaller ceremonies, and they kind of broke them up over multiple course of the days of the week itself. And it's been really interesting to watch just that transition. It makes me hopeful because we're not where we were last year, but we're definitely not what is usually expected around graduation time.
It's an indication indeed that we've come a long way since last year when you know, everything was rather new to us in terms of how we're moving around within the pandemic, to being able now, like you've mentioned, to have certain aspects of the graduation, you know, being able to be done in such a way where persons can physically attend. It's like a marker to show where we've come from since last year.
And still not those mass graduations as yet, but it is a step in the direction that we wanted to go.
Certainly.
All right, so that's a recap. If you were celebrating over the weekend, you got to shake it off now. It's time to get back to real life, and we have a great show lined up for you to be able to get you started for the work week. And we start off with some motivation. And that means it's time for Eye Opener. Our Eye Opener, taken from dailyom.com, goes like this. Each time we read for enjoyment, the empathy awakened within us creates entire landscapes in our mind's eye. Every book has the potential to touch the human soul deeply, arousing patterns of thought that might otherwise have lain dormant. The pleasure we derive from the written word is unique in that we must labor for it. Other forms of art provide us with stimulus and ask nothing more than our emotional response. Reading is an active pastime that requires an investment of emotion as well as our concentration and imagination. The words we read are merely a starting point for a process that takes place largely within our minds and hearts. Your emotions are awakened each time you read, allowing you to become vessels of the passion that pours forth from line after line of print. Ultimately, the books you absorb, those that touch you deeply, will become a part of who you are, providing you with a rich and thrilling world within that you can revisit anytime you wish by simply closing your eyes. If you haven't read a book for pleasure lately, try and allow yourself the time. You deserve it.
This is arguably one of the best eye-openers, simply because I'm an avid reader. I am a self-confessed bibliophile, right? Someone that's very much into collecting books and reading and that sort of stuff. It's been my passion since I was a child. And the eye-opener being able to speak to the beauty, I would say, of reading the written word.
Yeah.
First of all, Marlene, it's one of those things where in my mind I believe that perhaps it's dying, because when you look at young people today, there isn't much that is being done in terms of picking up a book and reading. The beauty of reading is being able to use your imagination, right? As the eye-opener says, line from line, you know, what the author has penned and what you're able to perceive in your mind's eye in terms of the visuals. Like I could recall as a child, you know, books take me to faraway places.
Yeah.
Right?
The start of your travel bucket list started with the books you read.
Yeah. And it's something that, you know, when you apply recreational reading to everyday life, it broadens your horizon, right? It allows you to be able to see things for what they are and see people for who they are in the context of the descriptions that are placed in front of you. And so this eye-opener for me speaks volumes, no pun intended, simply because it reminds me of the importance of being able to read and being able to absorb the stuff, the material that you read, and how that impacts your everyday life.
Well, we could have a very long conversation about the culture of reading and how important it is. And I know that technology has changed that quite a bit. You can listen to books now. You can read them on your phone. Sometimes people are on their phone reading books as well. I'm still very traditional. I prefer a printed copy. But I do love, I mean, I feel a bit of guilt as well, because reading for pleasure, you never realize how much of a luxury it is. And you can read all different types of books, but sometimes the greatest ones that you just get lost. It's like the Netflix, like when people watch Netflix and they want to watch one more episode, do you remember wanting to read one more chapter knowing you have to go to bed? It's one of the best feelings, and you really can get lost in it. But the part that really stands out to me is how oftentimes some books just stay with you. You may not remember every detail about it, but you can immediately, if you allow yourself, transport yourself back to that particular time or feeling when you read those words for the first time. And they become a bit of your own personal mantra as you move forward. They do have a powerful way of shaping us and allowing us to really expand what we think, how we think, and all the things that we're exposed to. And a key thing here, as you mentioned how much you read, is that as you read, you're teaching your children to develop the practice as well. So even if you want your children to read, one of the best things they'll tell you is let them see you reading as well.
Yep. Best example to set.
That's right. But that is the eye-opener for today, and we're going to get moving into our weather update. And we are going to go ahead and read the prepared forecast for today. So the general situation
calls for relatively moist airflow prevailing over the area.
All right, the 24-hour forecast is for sunny with a few cloudy spells today and partly cloudy tonight. Showers will be isolated.
The marine conditions, the winds will be blowing from the east at 10 to 20 knots. The sea state will be moderate. And of course, the advisories, the operators of small crafts should exercise caution for occasionally gusty winds and locally rough seas, especially during the nighttime and early morning hours.
Our high temperatures for today are going to be 89 along the coast, 97 inland, and 82 in the hills. And with those temperatures, there is a heat alert for residents, especially those inland. They are advised to stay hydrated and avoid outdoor activity as much as possible.
Our lows tonight call for 82 degrees along the coast, 76 inland, and 68 degrees Fahrenheit in the hills.
And our outlook, mainly fair conditions with isolated showers or isolated thunderstorms developing for Tuesday and Tuesday night. And we want to thank our forecaster, Crystal Rosales, for that update this morning. Hot day ahead.
Yes, summertime indeed, Marlene.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to get ready to move into our show for today. Oh, I'm sorry. It is a Monday morning. And it is, there we go. It is a Monday morning, and it's time for us to find out about the big stories coming out of last week and this weekend, and what we're looking forward to in the week ahead. So let's shift gears to Eye on the News.
Looking back at some of the developments that took place in the course of last week, I want to revisit the issue of the super bond and the fact that we still haven't really made much progress in terms of being able to reach an agreement with the creditors, the bondholders. As you would recall, Belize was unable to pay a coupon that was due back in May, and the government has put forward several proposals to the bondholders. Those proposals on 2 occasions, as far as we know, have been rejected, and so we're still trying to figure a way of being able to either convince them or to be able to have them agree to what we are putting forward. And this is in the context of, you know, creditors having told Belize essentially that notwithstanding or perhaps as a result of the ongoing economic crisis brought about by COVID and the overall state of Belize's finances, that there should be an IMF prescription. And you would also recall, Marlene, that on several previous occasions, the Prime Minister has said that we are opting for our own homegrown economic recovery plan to see Belize, you know, finding its footing once again in terms of its financial state of affairs. I bring it up because it remains quite an important issue in terms of where we are as a country and being able to meet and satisfy our external debts. As you would know, and all of us are feeling the pinch of the dire economic situation that we're facing, we still have a responsibility to be able to service our outside debts. And this is to the tune of $550 million US. So it's $1 billion debt that we're looking at over the course of the next 12 years at the very minimum, that comes mature in 2034. But if we're having these hiccups at this moment, and we're defaulting on payment, then, as I've mentioned, it becomes something that needs to be discussed to see what happens next. So that's the first thing I wanted to touch on this morning. And of course, this was discussed in the upper house as well on Friday. There was a Senate meeting that took place on Friday, and parliamentarians were asked their opinion of what is taking place in terms of the bond, the super bond, and the back and forth with creditors, as one parliamentarian put it, is somewhat par for the course in terms of trying to reach an understanding as to where we go from here and how we're able to satisfactorily meet those requirements. And as I've mentioned, it's something that we're looking at carefully, because not only does it put us in the proverbial black book, but it says or speaks volumes in terms of where we are and how we move forward as a country. So that's the first conversation I wanted to have, Marlene.
No, definitely. When we talk about the debt that Belize has an obligation to pay, it is very often we've heard, about how heavily indebted we are. But of course, the current situation that we are in with the economy makes the situation even more challenging.
Yeah.
We are going to be joined by the Prime Minister today, so we'll be able to find out more about where the discussions are at the moment and what's the thinking moving forward. The thing about the homegrown economic plan is that, one portion is, of course, looking at the reduction in spending on goods and services and the salary cut, but that's not sufficient to really get everything going. It will take time. Will bondholders have the patience for us to see the fruition of that plan when it's rolled out? And how do you move forward with negotiations when they're saying they want to see Belize ascribed to an IMF program?
It's one of those things where, successive governments have been able to negotiate and be able to restructure. And some people would say, well, all of that is tantamount to kicking the can down the road. But it's a situation where, when you look at where we are in terms of the revenues being collected, in terms of the overall fiscal state, and our ability to be able to pay the coupons and pay the debt accordingly, we are saying, look, this is perhaps what we can afford at any one given point in time. When we're unable to do that, then we need to come back to the table and ask for somewhat of an extension. And so that's essentially what the government is seeking to do. So there's some hardball being played in terms of the bondholders holding firm in their position as well, that, you need to be able to do the following things in order for us to even consider what you're putting on the table. And as you rightfully mentioned, it's a conversation that we will have with the Prime Minister when he joins us later in the show. And that will definitely be one of the things that we will bring up in our discussion this morning. But I wanted to keep the Eye on the News brief this morning because of our guest. As we mentioned, we have quite a lot to discuss with him later on.
All right. Yeah. So that's it for us with Eye on the News for this morning.
All right, so as we've mentioned, our show this morning primarily will be a discussion with Prime Minister John Briceño, who will be joining us virtually. However, we're going to take our commercial break, our first break of the morning. Before that, we want to say happy belated birthday to our friend and colleague here at Channel 5, Luis Sosa. There he goes. He celebrated his birthday yesterday, Marlene.
That's right. So we hope you had a great day yesterday and that you got the chance to take a break and relax and enjoy it with your family.
All right. With that, we go to our first commercial break. And when we return, it's to have a discussion with PM John Briceño.
Continues to expand its internet coverage countrywide to help you live a smarter life.
Our villagers are very happy. They are pleased to know that Smart went the extra mile to put a tower in our village so that our villagers can get live stream on their TVs and they can get their kids doing their online classes. I want to say to SMART, thank you for making it possible for us to get internet in Gardenia Village. We really do appreciate it.
SMART continues to take the internet and mobile services to communities across Belize. Now save even more when you bundle your SMART broadband with SMART mobile services. SMART, bringing people together.
As one of the largest cable and internet providers in Belize, CBC strives to provide our customers with the highest standards of quality, value, and service in all aspects of cable TV and internet. Monitoring our systems closely, our technicians combine creative planning and state-of-the-art technology with years of experience and training to develop and provide the most reliable and advanced cable and internet service to exceed your expectations. For CBC and our team of talented engineers, technicians, and customer service representatives, delivering less than the very best is never an option.
Good morning, sweetie. It's time for school.
Are you a teacher or public sector employee who is thinking of owning your new home? Get the keys to your new home with Belize Bank's all-inclusive mortgage, the best financing option in Belize for your new home purchase or construction. Inclusive of all mortgage-related fees, no down payment, affordable terms, amazingly low interest rates. Visit our nearest branch to speak to one of our financial advisors to discuss how you can be one step closer to owning your new home. Some conditions apply.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Andrea Polanco, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 Belize teams do whatever it takes, go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 Belize on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, because news is now everywhere, all the time. And so are we.
Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
And welcome back. As we mentioned prior to our commercial break, our discussion this morning will be a two-part conversation with Prime Minister John Briceño. There's quite a number of issues that we want to raise with him that are of national importance. That being said, joining us via Zoom from his residence in Orange Walk, we have Prime Minister John Briceño with us. Good morning, PM.
Hi, good morning, Isani. Marlene, good morning. Let me start off by saying that I promise on my next visit and my next interview, I will make it in person. So we'll get that off one time. I will make sure that I could be there for, by 6:30, so we could have another show in person. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for inviting me to be on your show.
Certainly. PM, one of the first questions I wanted to ask you, I know you recently headed up a delegation to Guatemala where you met with the Guatemalan president. Can you begin by sort of giving us a breakdown of what those discussions were like and what the overall atmosphere was in terms of meeting with your diplomatic counterpart?
Exactly. I think what is the most important I think achievement in this visit, apart from we did a lot of work, is that for the very first time, a president from Guatemala invited a prime minister from Belize to go to Guatemala City to have a one-on-one discussion with him and a few of his top advisors, including the foreign minister. We got on very well. He's Giammattei, President Giammattei, is a really easygoing fellow. He's not pretentious. He's down to earth. And what he started out by saying that he would like to go down in history as the president that started to have open, friendly relationship with Belize. We both understood that the whole issue about the borders and so forth, that's already at the ICJ. And so he's saying, let's blame the ICJ for whatever that's happening. Pretty much we are very confident that at the ICJ we have a very solid case and that we will win. But once we got over the pleasantries of the meeting, we started off with work, and there are a number of things that we had. We started discussing the issue of COVID-19, and pretty much everybody in Central America look at Belize as a shining example as to how we have managed to control the spread of COVID in our country. And so, you know, we told him that from day one, we said that we're going to listen to the science. We're going to follow the science, listen to the experts. We politicians do not know everything, and certainly not when it comes to COVID. And that's what we did. And by doing that and being aggressive in the testing and trying to isolate people and do the contact tracing, we have been successful so far. And then we spoke about the vaccines. They are having problems in getting their vaccines. Apparently the company that they got to deliver the vaccines, they are way behind schedule. And whilst here in Belize, we have already started an aggressive campaign to vaccinate people. So that was the first thing that they wanted to talk. But of course, it came down to the issue of the trade and cooperation, understanding that we have borders, and Guatemala is a huge country compared to us. And we have so many opportunities to be able to sell our products. As it is, we're selling cattle and pork and eggs and chicken, corn, and there's so much more that can be done. But the president, like us in Belize, wants to formalize that. So we have already agreed that we are going to continue now to work on the partial scope agreement that we have, and that to expand that partial scope agreement to be able to sign agreements in the protection of investments in both in Belize and in Guatemala. So I felt that that it was a very, very good discussion, a fruitful discussion. But apart from the issue of trade, something that we have always been saying, that Guatemala can be a very important trading partner for us. The issue of security in the region came up, the issue of the narco trafficking. Guatemala has been investing as a country considerable amounts of monies in how they can follow these narco planes when they leave South America and they come into the region trying to land in Guatemala or Belize and on to North America. And what they have, they have a radar system that they can track them, and based on the flight trajectory that they're taking, it gives them, they can estimate, they can pinpoint probably 3 areas where they think that they will land. And so they send their caibiles, their soldiers, ahead in those 3 areas. And as soon as the plane would get into their airspace, there will be either helicopters or a plane choking them. So it's starting to make it a bit more difficult for them.
Yeah.
Guatemala is prepared to share that
technology.
How should I say? That data with us in real time. So that's something that our Foreign Minister, Minister Courtney, and along with our Minister Musa, that we hope that they will start to have talks as to how we can set up that cooperation and can also help us. So to me, that is very, very, very important.
Yeah.
We recognize that there are from time to time a few issues at the border.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's one of the questions I wanted to ask.
I was going to come to that. We do have some issues at the border, and we believe that that we have to get the OAS, the office of the OAS, to be able to work even more. So we both agreed that both countries, we will start working in raising more the necessary funding for the office, and we will pretty soon be talking to the friends of both Belize and Guatemala to help us in properly funding that.
Did the question come up about looking at the situation in Petén? Very often when you talk about the incursions that take place at the border, one of the reasons cited is the poverty that exists in Petén. Not our issue, but one that would have been a good opportunity to discuss with President Giammattei.
Well, that is always the issue, that whenever we come up with this issue, we recognize that poverty is what drives people to cross the border. They're seeing land and they have access to land, whilst they in Belize, while they don't have access on their land, on their areas. That is why both of us are saying that if we can strengthen the trade between both countries, areas in El Petén can be able to sell to Belize, and Belize likewise can sell in that area or in the rest of Guatemala. We also looking at, they are very interested in the CARICOM market, and they believe that if they can come into Belize and do some production and finishing the process in Belize, then that they could also have access to CARICOM. So it is about creating economic opportunities for people.
Yeah.
Jobs, it's about people getting jobs and address the issue of poverty that is affecting both countries, not only Guatemala, but also in Belize. The latest estimates that we're getting, it seems that poverty has increased significantly under the UDP, and that is now even over and beyond the 50% mark.
Now, just one more issue on the Belize-Guatemala relations. As you noted earlier, we do have ongoing, the case is ongoing before the ICJ. Prime Minister, this is a very expensive endeavor, one that will draw out for a few years. Do we have the funds necessary to really put forward the best legal case as it comes up by the end of the year?
I don't think it's a matter of do, but have to. And we have the funds already, under the guidance of Ambassador Schuman and also Minister Courtney. They were very good in setting up an impressive team of lawyers, but in doing it in such a way as opposed to going directly to these high-powered law firms. We took individual lawyers and people that can look at the issue of the waters and the sea and so forth and get best advice for Belize. I am convinced we have a good team. We have to make the money available. This is about the sovereignty of our country, and there is no such thing of trying to cut corners on that. And firmly believe that we have a strong case and that we will win the case at the ICJ.
And from the meeting with Guatemala, let's talk about another issue. Of course, we need to take a look at where we are in the COVID-19 pandemic. And as you noted, while Belize is being lauded for getting a handle on the active cases, we know that internally we are seeing an increase. We are still below 100 active cases detected, but there are major concerns over the reopening of the borders for foreign visitors, especially coming from the medical community. Using the example that you said that this administration follows the science, how do you respond to the medical community who's saying that this is a bad idea?
We have to find now we have to balance as to how and where we are. And we have opened up the airport successfully by putting strict protocols. We have opened up the free zone successfully by putting up strict protocols. At the free zone, we have had over 200,000 visitors so far, almost 300,000 visitors. And as you always say, knock on wood, we have not had a single case of COVID. So we believe that we already have the systems in place, and the very strict protocols that we implemented at the airport and at the border, we are going to do the same, at the free zone, we will do the same thing at the land borders, that we will be able to allow now tourists to come in. We're still not allowing Belizeans to travel freely, but we will be able to allow the tourists to come because people need also to work. And we need to create an opportunity. And now as a government, then we have to find that fine balance between following the science and the medical people, but also looking at the issue of people needing to get back to work. Many times people don't even have enough to eat. And so we believe that the risk that we're taking will be worth it. But that the minute something we see that if it's starting to not work, we're prepared to close on the border immediately.
So you do have triggers identified. You just came from, okay, because you came from Guatemala and Mexico, and they have.
We are going to be monitoring this very, very closely. As I said, we have spent so much money and we have gone through so much hard time to be able to be where we are. We're one of 27 countries worldwide that the United States have put us in category 2. Or stage 2. And so that's a massive achievement. And we're not just going to be reckless in dealing with that. So we are going to be very careful, but at the same time, our people need to open. Tourism is growing, is getting back on its feet way faster than what we expected. Many of our main tourist destinations or the hotels are telling us that they're fully booked for the summer. And so we have to be able to take an advantage of that. As it is right now, Copa is starting to fly. Southwest is going to start to fly soon. We're talking about Alaska and Frontier. They're already looking at coming to Belize as a safe destination. So we were not going to be reckless, Marlene. And I want to assure the Belizean people, and I continue to support and appreciate fully the work that the COVID task force of doctors and nurses and technicians are doing.
PM, can you paint for us at this time perhaps an economic picture of where we are as a country? We keep saying that, you know, we're facing difficult times in terms of the financial state of Belize. Can you share with us if, based on, excuse me, the projections and based on the overall revenue collection, that we're moving in a particular direction where we can perhaps see some headway down the road?
Actually, I'm quite pleased. The economy is moving much faster than what we expected, but that has been simply because we have addressed the issues of the economy aggressively. As you can remember, on November the 12th, we started exporting cattle into Guatemala. Remember when the previous government stupidly shut down the border because of politics? We opened up immediately. So as it is right now, I think in the last count, we have sold about 30,000 heads of cattle into Guatemala. We've been selling even into Mexico, chicken and eggs but we make sure that we have the customs at that point, at the border point, customs, Baja, immigration, making sure that everything is being done properly on our side of the country. Whenever I speak to the Minister of Agriculture, he's telling me our local producers are having the best year they've ever had, because we again try to minimize the imports. That when we have tomatoes, well, let's eat our tomatoes. And I've always said the tourists don't come to Belize to eat tomatoes. They come to look at the beauty of the country. So they don't have to have their big juicy tomatoes, even in small juicy tomatoes that Belize have. And we have really nice, sweet, good tomatoes. We have ensured that we start eating what we're producing, and that has had a massive impact. Under the Ministry of Investment and Beltrade, the Four Seasons is about to take off in Key Chapel. 6 cents on a small island right off San Pedro, again, is about to take off. And so many others. What we have done is that members of Beltrade, like Mr. Jaime Briceño and also Mr. Diab, they are personally, they're going and looking at the projects that are online, and if there's any issues, they get in touch with them, and we find ways how to get that program or that project off its feet as quickly as possible. We have to take this hands-on and aggressive approach in getting the economy going. We have to get people back to work. I know the UDP likes to boast about their social programs, but what can you do with a family with $150 a month? People need to get back to work. In the free zone, as it is right now, we have about 1,200 people working in the tourism industry. Hundreds of persons already are starting to work in agriculture. Hundreds of people are working. We have already made $50 million through government putting $10 million and Central Bank $40 million for to be able to lend to areas in tourism and agriculture, where industries that are going to create jobs and going to create foreign currency, low interest rate, and a longer payback period, so that we could get them back on their feet. There's a liquidity in the system. We have probably about $500 million, and we're working through the central bank with the banks to ensure that we could make these monies available for investment. The BPOs, call centers, the back office work, that has been a massive success. In such a short time, we have created hundreds of jobs there. So we are getting where we want to. We still have some ways to go, please, but we have been way down at the bottom of the barrel, so it has some time.
But what about
one more important thing to point out? For instance, in May 2019, in the Customs Department, we collected $44.19 million. This year, when the economy has not fully opened as yet, we collected $43.75 million. That's a difference of $400,000 from May 2019 to where we are. But we have a new controller, and she's putting in a new management team, a new structure. So we're starting to see the difference. But that's only the start of what we're going to do in customs, because there has to be some systematic changes as to how we manage that area and how we manage also the tax department to ensure that we can collect the monies so that we can offer the services to our people.
Prime Minister, I appreciate that update in looking at what are existing industries and an opportunity for economic restart. We look at tourism. I believe our last conversation with the ministry, they said they're about 30% of where they used to be. You speak of agriculture, and that may be promising as well. But if we look to pre-pandemic periods, even with the growth in tourism, even with agriculture on a steady path, we were still not able, we were not doing well financially. So let's talk about what opportunities you are looking at to be able to inject new funds into the economy. This is an integral part of the recovery and growth for the country.
Marlene, the point I just made is that the economy is recovering much faster than anticipated. But we have a long way to go, and I just admitted that to you. But I just explained to you, we're making another $50 million available to lend to agriculture and tourism in areas where they're going to create jobs and they're going to be able to create foreign currency. We're looking at the BPO aggressively, whereby we have lots of room for expansion. I just told you about the partial scope agreement in Guatemala, that we are going to expand that so that then we can sell more of our products into Mexico. I am going to have do a state visit to Mexico in September, and our foreign minister has already spoken with their foreign minister, and one of the things that he has said, my message has been, is that we want to have again a partial scope agreement with Guatemala, with Mexico, so again we can sell our products with them. So they have already agreed to start to fast track that kind of the discussions and negotiations. So when we get to Mexico, we already can be way ahead in getting some of these things done. We have to make sure that we look at how the NEAC, the National Environmental Appraisal Committee, works. Under my times, when I was a minister, once you go through the NEAC, then you get your permits. Something happened under the UDP that you get your approval from the NEAC, then you have to go and try to get your permits at the Ministry of Geology or Lands or whichever other ministry. That is wrong. Once you have done that, then you're supposed to be able to get working. And we're just moving people around all over the place and frustrating investors. So that's what we're doing, Marlene. I mean, there's no magic wand. There's absolutely no magic wand. But we are doing the work that is necessary to get this country back on its feet much faster than anybody ever expected.
Now, in the context of economic recovery, we're also looking at where we are as a country in terms of being able to satisfy our external debt. That being said, can you give us an update as to where we are with the super bond negotiations? I know that last week the bondholders rejected a proposal that was put forward. Where are we now?
Surprise! Are you surprised? Of course, we expected them to reject it. But I've said it when I was in opposition. For too long, especially the UDP, was just kicking the can down the road and claiming success when they were doing nothing but just sending this down the road. We said that we have to renegotiate the super bond and that we have to get, as what we call a haircut or a discount. Maybe that is a better word to express. As soon as we got in, we sent messages to the bondholders and said, we need to sit down and renegotiate the terms. Yeah. As it is right now, the bonds, when we started back, when we were just elected, the bonds were hovering probably about 50 cents on the dollar. And so we said we need to negotiate. We sent them a letter and said that we were asking them for consent to extend the grace period from June the 11th, because we said to them that we do not have the monies to be able to pay. We show them our economic plan for the next 5 years as to how we're going to get where we are. So we have been very frank with the bondholders. Now, the bondholders, they can play hardball as far as I'm concerned. That's good for them. That's fine by them. But where will that put them? Now that they have tried to play hardball, the price of the bonds have gone down to about 30 cents on the dollar. So they're shooting themselves on the head because Belize is not going to go and borrow on the capital markets. We have no intentions of doing that. Secondly, their legal recourses are limited. They can't take us to court. We don't have assets outside of the United States. So the only way they can try to raise the price of that bond is by sitting down and having a reasonable negotiations with us, where we're saying that in good faith that the level of debt in Belize, it is unsustainable. The Article 4 report has said that, yes, that we are correct, it's unsustainable, that the super bond, while it's about 28% of the entire debt, the super bond, we are paying about 45 cents of every dollar in interest goes to the super bond. Their interest rates is the highest, and so we simply cannot and will not continue to pay the super bond the way it is. We have to sit down and negotiate as it is, and the longer they take, the lower the price of the super bond would go down. So it's in their interest to sit down and negotiate with us.
Let's paint a scenario nonetheless, right? You are the one who owes me money, and it would seem as if though you're telling me how and when you're going to pay me the money versus being able to sit with me so that we have a discussion. I draw that analogy simply because when we look at what is taking place, it would seem as if though the government is trying to tell the bondholders how it will present this issue as opposed to sitting down with the bondholders and being able to resolve it one way or the other.
That's not true, Isani. If I owe you money and I come to you and tell you, Isani boy, things gone really bad, I just can't pay you. But you know what? This is how I believe I could pay you right now. This is what I can do right now. Isani, you have 3 options. Take me to court, but if I have nothing for you to take, what will you do? Or you could say, I want to shoot you. Yeah, so that will put you in jail. Or thirdly, by John, we could sit down and negotiate. Because what best you think you could do? You think you could give me so much? And I'll tell you, boy, I really can't. This is what I could do. That is a very safe approach we're taking to the bondholders. We're telling them, we've been very clear to them. We've been honest to a fault with them. From early on, we were telling them, Belizeans are making huge sacrifices. Look at what we've been going through with the public service and with the teachers, our frontline workers, who people have been putting their lives on the line for this country. We were forced to be able to do a pay cut, something that we take no pleasure in doing. I did it with, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. But we have to do it because we simply do not have the money. Can't take blood out of stone. And if Belizeans are prepared to do the sacrifice, and our employees are prepared to do the sacrifice, how many tens of thousands of people have lost their job in Belize? Tens of thousands of people are earning less today than what they were earning before the pandemic. Taiwan has been helpful. Our bilaterals, the IFIs have been helpful. They have been lending us money at lower interest rates to keep us going. So the bondholders have to do their part. We're all in this together, and everybody have to do their part. And we're asking simply the bondholders, help us to get through this time, because the way it is, I am sorry, but we simply cannot pay you.
Now, the government had, in fact, attempted to have a sit-down with the bondholders. However, they pulled out of that meeting and, in fact, then made it clear that they would like for Belize to sign on to an IMF program before they proceed. Has there been any change in that resistance to meet since that time?
Absolutely not. We have presented our plan to the IMF. And pretty much the IMF feels that if we are disciplined enough, we will be able to achieve the targets that we have. They have been looking at us very closely with the negotiations, the consultations that we've had with the private sector, and also with the our public service, or with the public service employees and the teachers, and how is it that we're trying to balance the budget. And so far, they seem to be okay with what we're doing. They're looking at the numbers on the export, how aggressive we are in trying to export our products. So pretty much they are looking and believe that if we are disciplined enough, we'll be able to achieve the targets. We are not going to prescribe to an IMF standby agreement at this moment, simply because it will create too much pain for the Belizean people. They're asking for us to fire 3,000, a minimum of 3,000 government employees. And if you want to be cynical about it, you know, who would be fired? It is last in, first out. Who are the last people that came into government or got jobs in government? Most of them are UDP supporters. So it is the UDP that have gotten hurt. But we can't do that in good conscience when there's no jobs out there. What are they going to be doing out there? So, and then they want us to raise, at one time they even hinted of raising GST all the way up to 19.5%. Our economy can't sustain that. So we believe that if we come up with a plan, and for the first time, our government has come up with a 5-year plan, and we made it public. You guys have it in your records as to how we're going to, first of all, address the issue of the primary deficit. That's, in effect, where we're not even collecting enough money to pay our salaries, and we rent, and we water, electricity, and so forth. This financial year, we're still going to be short of almost $100 million. But if the numbers continue to work and the economy starts to grow faster than expected, maybe it's going to be a little bit less than what we have. But by next year, primary balance, we're going to be positive. We're going to have a positive gain. And from there, it's going to be able to grow. We see growth of at least 5% or more every year. So we have a plan.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of sticking to the plan, asking Belizeans to work with us, to support us, asking the teachers and the public servants to please to understand. They know what we're facing, and to continue to work with us in trying to address this fiscal crisis that the UDP left collapse to fix.
How do you see the situation playing out with bondholders at this time? When you were in opposition and when you first became Prime Minister, you have spoken about how vehemently opposed you are to delaying payments.
Sorry, I was opposed to what?
Delaying payments.
I've never been opposed about the issue of delaying payments. I was opposed to the way government has been negotiating. I have been saying from day one, when the UDP started their negotiating or their renegotiating game, is that I'm saying we need to get a haircut. And when I was in opposition, I said we are going to demand a haircut. And I even told that to the Prime Minister in the House, in the National Assembly, when he asked the bondholders to say, all right, not the interest, we're not going to pay it today, we're going to put it as part of, to capitalize it. So now we pay interest on interest. As opposed to, he could have said, forgo interest for this year, or set the interest on one side, and then we're going to pay that later. But he made it worse for us. So the bondholders started to be and say, what? That's good deal for them, because we took the interest and capitalized it. So now the bill for the bond, what we owe to the bondholders increased. So I have never said that, Marlene. I have said then,
you called it today, kicking the can down the road.
Bondholders. No, listen. I said the bondholders have to come and sit with us and renegotiate and come up with something that we can afford to pay.
So the expectation is that you will be able to negotiate with the bondholders.
Of course. It is in their interest. They have no other choice.
Okay. Well, Prime Minister, what we're going to do is go ahead and take a break. When we come back, there are a few more issues we want to cover with you. Of course, we still have to look at the continued trade dispute that the Public Service Union still has and other issues that are affecting the country. So we'll be back in a few. Stay tuned.
With the touch of a finger, we can easily unlock our phones and securely gain access to our data. This technology is called biometrics, and the Social Security Board is introducing fingerprint recognition to make transactions and handling of your sensitive data secure, fast, accurate, and convenient. Is your identity safe? Fingerprint recognition will keep your Social Security record secure and confidential while making your access fast and easy. It protects your identity. Is your name a common one? Fingerprint recognition uses your unique characteristics, ensuring your hard-earned benefits go directly to you, the rightful owner. Tired of all the paperwork? Fingerprinting makes this hassle-free. Your convenience and your information security is our priority. Fingerprint recognition coming soon. Social Security at your fingertips.
It's a fact that with Smart, you get truly unlimited everything. Only with Smart, you get unlimited data anytime. While with the other guy, it's only double data on weekends. With unlimited data every day with Smart, there's no need to wait. So, it's a fact that our unlimited plans beat the competition. Stop being measured and told when to use your data and get unlimited talk, text, and data. Experience the true unlimited plans with Smart. That's a fact. Make the switch and live smart.
Hi, I am Rosana Briseño. I am happy to see that the rollout of the COVID-19 vaccine has begun all over our nation. If we are to get back to some kind of normalcy, if our golden citizens will be better protected, and if our children are to go back to school, then we need to get vaccinated. I believe in the COVID-19 vaccine, and when my turn comes around, I will get vaccinated. I urge you to take it too. #GetVaccinated_Belize.
It is my time
to protect your life.
Don't wait to vaccinate.
I believe in the COVID-19 vaccine.
The vaccine is the best way to protect lives.
Don't wait, vaccinate.
Don't hesitate, Belize.
Vaccinate. Be COVID-19 safe. If you care, love them.
Protect them.
Vaccinate them.
And we're back.
We are back. We continue our discussion this morning with Prime Minister John Briseño. Just before we took our commercial break earlier, we had mentioned that we wanted to follow up with him on the trade dispute that exists with the Public Service Union. And of course, the Belize National Teachers Union has indicated that it will be taking legal action against the government of Belize. This, of course, has to do with the salary cut issue and, of course, the good governance proposals that have been put forward. PM, can you give us an update from your end in terms of where we are with the trade dispute and your administration's position in the context of what has been taking place?
What we had with the unions has been consultations. We started consulting with them, I think, for about February. And we've had many meetings where we made the presentation on where we are financially as a country and some of the difficult positions that we have to take. Unfortunately, one of them was that we had to do a salary cut. And we've had endless hours discussing with them, the people that are leading consultations, Deputy Prime Minister Cordell Hyde, Minister of Education, Francis Fonseca, Minister of the Public Service, and Henry Charles Usher, and Minister of State and Finance, Chris Koyi. Many times when they finish a meeting, they agree on something and they come to cabinet and say, well, I think we have an agreement, just to find out that everything goes out through the window and they reject everything. So we have done everything that we have been able to do. And in my last letter, I told them that that is the final offer that we can do and that we need to move on. We have a government to run. We have a country to fix. We have people that are in poverty and need to get back to work, and we're moving on. As far as we're concerned, we are always open to listen to the unions, and if they have any other more discussions. But we can't finish something and then they come and send you another letter. That was very political and that being very rude. No, they want 11 points. We are moving on. I'm sorry. We have great respect for the unions and for the work that they do, and I know that they have to try to. They have their political group that they have to pander to, or their union members. But when you look at their Zoom meetings, I don't think 10% of their membership are involved. Most of the teachers are going to school. Most of the public servants are working. It's a small group. And I think some of them, I'm not pleased, and I say this very, very guardedly, some of them are just politically motivated. It doesn't matter what we offer. They're going to continue to fight us because they are members of the UDP. I'm not saying that about the leadership. Please, I want to make that very clear. I have great respect for Senator Elena Smith, and great respect for the former president of the PSU, Mr. Henry. The new member of the PSU, we know that it is Gaspar Vega that brought him into government. And you can hear when he speaks, his words are laced with politics in it. And you can't throw a stone when you live in a glass house, no?
PM, let me ask
we have done as best as we can, and we have done as much as we can, and we made many offers to them, and have you seen the litany of offers we did trying to accommodate them? Because I understand, we understand that 10% is going to hurt, but there are people, tens of thousands of people that have lost their jobs, and tens of thousands of people that got pay cuts more than 10%.
Let me ask you a quick follow-up question. Why did you not see it fit throughout the entire process to actually sit at the table with the unions in one of those discussions? At least to say, well, you know what? I am here. Let me hear from you directly what some of the issues are, as opposed to them only interfacing with representatives of your government.
You have the most senior ministers in my government. You have the deputy prime minister. You have the minister of education. You have the minister of the public service. You have the minister of state in finance that does the technical work to be able to try to address these issues. Now, I am prepared to come in to them if they're saying, okay, let's sit down and end here. But I will not go in an environment where I'll just go there and just to continue to talk and then bring another list of this and they want this and they want that. Guys, you have no clue how hard I'm working. I mean, the long hours that I work, I mean, pretty much every day from early to late at night, trying to get this country back. The UDP wrecked this country and we have to fix it. We have a moral and legal obligation to all the people, not only the unions, to all the people to fix it. And they are going to benefit the union. I mean, we even went so far as telling them, help us to meet our targets. And if once we meet the targets, we're going to give you a bonus, a performance bonus. But as it is right now, we can't continue to increase the debt. We can't continue to just recklessly be printing money. Because if we do, we are going to have hyperinflation and very likely have a devaluation. What we're doing is to save the Belizean dollar. That peg of $2 Belize to $1 US. But I am open. Both of you guys know me for many years. Marlene, I'm sorry I referred to you as a guy. Sorry about that, Marlene. But Marlene, you guys, both you and Isani know the kind of person. I'm an easygoing person. I don't think I have pretensions. I try not to be arrogant. And if I am, then I better check myself. So if they're prepared to have a serious sit down, and just see, let's wrap things up, I'm prepared to meet with them. But if I'm going to go and meet with them and say, oh no, they want this, and then they want that, and it's just going to be, it's not going to be beneficial to no one.
Prime Minister, you understand that the public was very wary of the government's line or the advertisements that were put out to attack the unions and union members. And as you noted, as you mentioned earlier, you align some leaders and some members as of a political party. Did you approve of the attack ads that were placed in the media?
Let me make something very clear. The government of Belize did not spend a single dollar, a single penny, in doing any kinds of ads of that. We, as a government, have kept it straight. But I guess there are people who believe that if the UDP are saying, if the unions are out there attacking us, are making the most baseless accusations, the most just, I don't want to use the word, no, but pretty much just say whatever it is that comes to their mouth. Somebody have to put the other side to it, don't you think? It's not about attacking them, it's about pointing the other side. Marlene, you can't fight with your two hands tied. It's important for people to see the other side, and that is what was done. It was done by me? No, it was not done by me. It was not done by the government.
The question, though, is, did you approve of it?
It's not something that I did as Prime Minister.
But did you approve of it?
Let me answer you again. I did not do that as Prime Minister. There are people that want to do that, and then I can't control them if that's what they want to do.
From the outside looking in as a leader, as the leader of this nation, there will be many decisions made that not everyone will approve of. What people saw, I think, is looking at the personal attack. It was akin to an election campaign where people are more open to the idea of political parties attacking each other. But what it was attacking workers who are simply...
Well, I think, Marlene, respectfully, I respect your opinion.
No, it's a question. It's a question.
Let's end it as that. I respect your opinion. People feel different. There are many people in my party who felt so much stronger. They're saying that we're not doing enough to defend the position of the government. And I'm so it's the way how you look at things. You look at it differently. I look at it differently. Can you respect my position just like I respect yours?
Prime Minister,
we move to another question.
I was getting to the question, which was, the question was, do you think, on reflection now, that this entire matter could have been handled differently?
I don't know. You tell me. We have been meeting with unions for months. And when we go to meetings, it's not a 1 hour meeting, you know. It's 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours. We come to an agreement. And then when they go to and report to the membership, many members were saying that they were not being told everything of what we have been offering them. That is why at the end, I felt it was important for me then to send them the letter and then read that letter to the entire nation so that the nation can see all that we're doing and offering to the unions for them to be able to try to ease the pain that they're going through. I understand what they're going through. Everybody's going through. So we have done as much as we can. It did not have to go there. I agree with you. But when you have certain leaders out there saying the baseless accusations against us, saying the most outlandish and outrageous things about us, obviously there are people in my party that would want to respond. Did I write those scripts? Did I approve them? No, that's not something that I do. I'm the Prime Minister. I have to make sure that we keep focused in trying to find a settlement in this.
Okay. Let's carry on to another aspect of our discussion this morning.
That's a wonderful idea.
You didn't answer my question, though.
Okay, I have another question.
And I wanted to answer your question. I was not dodging your question.
All right, so let's go in a slightly different direction here. When you look at the issue of crime and violence, it's something that is rather pervasive. You can't really get rid of it. From a national perspective, Is there any plan to address some of what has been taking place across the country in terms of the issue of homicides, the issue of armed robberies, and all of these other criminal activities that are happening?
Of course. Isani, as you noticed, if you notice, the Minister of National Security, Minister Musa, has been working day and night with the Commissioner of Police and again restructuring the police, taking a different approach in addressing some of these issues. But it comes on a lot to poverty, the issue of jobs, that a lot of people don't have work. But there's also another section that there is not that has to be addressed even more closely or watched more and addressed more aggressively, and that's the issue of gang violence. You can't stop people who want to kill themselves. As much as we would not want that to happen, these people have a death wish. They're going after one another, and as much as we put the police on the streets and trying to monitor them as close as possible, they find ways. They find ways. So we just have to be going aggressively at them and trying to, whenever we find anything or get guns off the street or get some of these guys off the street, doing more community policing so that we can get better intelligence to be able to address that issue. The robberies, as much as I hate it's not something that we like, but we just have to continue working at it and improve the kind of training that we give to the police, to our police department, and getting them the necessary resources to be able to fight crime.
I don't think that you want to sit down and negotiate with these individuals.
No, we will not negotiate with no gangs, no criminals.
Fair enough. My question nonetheless, in terms of perhaps any form of meaningful programs that can be put in place. You've mentioned crime and violence as the root, as poverty being its root cause. Are there specific programs that would either see them finding job opportunities or that kind of initiative that can be put in place to allow for a change of course?
Isani, how long have we been in government? About 6 months, right?
More or less.
As soon as we got in, we had historic floodings. Remember that? Floodings we haven't seen in 100 years. We had them, I got COVID. They went to deal with COVID. They went to deal with financial crisis that we have, and we're still dealing with it. So there are all these issues that we have to deal before getting into some of these very same issues. But what we're doing is that we're partnering with the business community. For instance, State Bank, the cruise port that's being built. I was there 2 Thursdays ago, and a part of the program, what Nuri is doing is trying to partner some of these guys that need work and have been giving trouble to get them off the street and put them in areas where they can work. And so we have them, for instance, in State Bank, and we're looking at other areas where we can put them to work. Many of these people, it's simply because they feel that they have no other option but just put a life of crime. So we have to continue to work with the private sector to be able to create jobs and then to be able to get these guys off the streets and put them to work, and then see how we can get them to get a trade. But the key to all of this has to be education. We have to ensure that those little kids, because remember, the people that are committing the crime, they're getting younger. They're as young as 16 and even 14 years old. We have to save those little ones. We have to ensure that they remain in school. We have to ensure that they can get their books and their uniforms and start towards working and setting up study areas for them and access to the internet so that they can do their work. All of that is a part of Plan Belize. But obviously we can't do it all at the same time simply because the previous government left us with no money. And so we have to address and we have to prioritize what we are going to do. As it is this year, we're going to invest almost $300 million in capital spending, water systems and schools, and then, okay, of course, finish some of those projects, road works, that project that the UDP left. But it is about education and work.
The resumption of schools, since we're talking about education, is expected to start in the next semester, starting the new school year. I want to tie in, you know, what we saw since the partial reopening of schools is that we've seen that these 3 schools have to close down due to COVID. Let's take a moment to focus on the vaccination rollout. Vaccine hesitancy is something that's across the globe, and it seems to have taken a foot here in Belize as well. When the vaccination rollout started in March, we were seeing about 2,000 vaccinations a day. Within the past few weeks, we've seen the number of vaccinations per day dip as low as 500. How concerned are you that Belizeans are not taking the vaccination as quickly as we need them to?
All countries are concerned about that, and Belize is no different. We have to ensure to continue to educate people for them to understand that the vaccine is safe, and more importantly, that it's could potentially save you or a loved one. Because you may be lucky that you may be asymptomatic, like myself, but maybe your spouse would not, and may have hypertension, diabetes, whatever it is, an underlying problem, and they can end up losing their lives. And so we have to continue to remind people that COVID-19 is still here, it has not disappeared, and that it is deadly. I think that when we started off the rollout in March, people were still remembering, seeing and hearing a lot of people dying, people in the hospitals, but now that they don't see that anymore, they feel almost as if it has disappeared. And we continuously have to remind people, don't be reckless. Look at what happened right now. We were already having concerns with teachers getting COVID. So we may have to rethink how we're going to do the next 3 weeks. The medical COVID task force is already advising us to rethink, and we're waiting to see what kind of recommendations they're going to come. They're going to give us some time today, because they're very concerned of all these teachers and public servants or public officers congregating in big crowds, and we're already seeing signs that that some of them have been that got COVID, and some probably, the incubation period is long. So we have to remind Belizeans, COVID is here. It has not disappeared, and COVID is deadly. And if it won't kill you, it could kill other people around in your families. So it is important to vaccinate.
Now, thankfully, we haven't exhausted the stock that we have in country, but what is the plan to be able to ensure that we can get sufficient vaccination?
We have in stock, where we already have, we're going to get more under the COVAX facility, but under the CARICOM made an arrangement to get the Johnson & Johnson vaccines through a company in Africa, licensed from Johnson & Johnson. We just set a down payment, and we are going to be getting, I think, about 200,000 of those vaccinations. And remember, those are you only need one injection. It's not like the others that you have to have 2. So we have in program in getting the necessary amount of vaccinations for the country.
Yeah. What's your personal appeal to people so that they would go out and get vaccinated?
If you don't love yourself, love those around you. Love your mother, love your father, love your brothers and sisters. And so if you love them, take the vaccination.
All right, so PM, it's been a privilege to have you on our show this morning. I know you're a very busy man. My final question...
That's an understatement, but yes, thank you.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown, sir. My final question, and I think it's something that the public would also want to know. You've been rather shy, in a manner of speaking, from hosting a press conference where you can take questions on other matters that are of national interest. When can we get you at the head table for some questions in a general context?
Guys, I have been giving so many interviews. Every week I'm giving interviews, and giving an interviews and giving a press conference comes up to the same thing. It really makes no difference. I am very accessible. Whenever anybody in the media calls me and asks me for an interview, I give them an interview. So I do not shy away from the media. There's a need for a press conference, probably something I would consider, but I've been very accessible to everybody. I'm here on your show. Last week I was on Love FM. Every week I give several interviews. So it's not as if there is a lack of information given from my end, but it's something that I'm prepared to take a look at. It's not about being shy, because if I was being shy, I would not have been on your show right now and have Marlene rough me up a little bit.
I hardly call that rough, but I do want to get one final question in, and that is, of course, taking a look. Now we can, I'm sure it's easier for you to wear the party hat versus the Prime Minister hat, looking at the ongoing situation in the United Democratic Party, the opposition, and what they're facing internally. Any thoughts?
Everybody would tell you that you need a strong opposition, and but as a political party, obviously you want your opposition to be imploding. So, and that's what they're going through. They're going through trying to find their way, how they're going to move beyond the Barrow era. We had some of that within our party, so I could kind of understand a little bit. But that's their business. As I said earlier, I'm getting my popcorn and my soft drink and enjoy the show.
Well, the issue is a serious one that's up for debate. It's talking about political or I should say public officials engaged in behavior that is seen unbecoming of those who are held in these positions. Let's take it a step further. You know, does your party have guidelines or code of conduct for things like that?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And certainly we do not, as I said again earlier at a previous interview, condone any kind of violence, especially violence against women. And to be aggressive either physically or psychologically, any kind, that's still a form of violence, and it's something that all Belizeans must condemn. Yeah. And when I condemn that, I condemn Patrick Farber, the person, Patrick Farber, the man, that should not behave like that. Now, as a leader, we are held to a higher standard, and so we have to be even more cautious as to how we behave, and we should not be seen at any time being disrespectful or being rude, and that we have to have more patience than Job. And I try as best as I possibly can not to be rude to people, trying to be respectful and trying to be patient. But when I'm dealing, we've been very patient dealing with the unions. I'm sure that would not have happened under the previous government, but we spent months and hours dealing with them, trying to accommodate as best as we possibly can. So yes, we're held to higher standards.
Yes. And just lastly, since we are on the opposition, one of the things that you've always spoken about as an important part of nation building is having bipartisan support in different issues. Are there any ongoing programs where there is bipartisan support?
Well, unfortunately, this opposition believes that they should just oppose everything. As much as we reach out to them, as much as we try to talk to them, and privately they will tell you yes, but in public they say no, which is totally the opposite of what we did when we were in opposition. There are many, many, many times that we supported the government in things that we believe that was right for Belize. Even in some instances when we think it was not necessarily in the best interest, we still supported and left it as that. But this group, they believe that they have to oppose everything. as much as we try to reach out to them.
So there's been offer of engagement on some issues?
I've always, every time, they know me, they can call me, you know, and personally we get along well, you know, and when we meet in private, we were very, very friendly with one another. But for some reason they believe, maybe they're looking at the Republican strategy in the United States that they just have to oppose everything. So maybe that's it. It's unfortunate. I wish that they could sit down and work with us in things that are of national importance, and that when we go to the House and we put something that is in the interest of the Belizean people, in the interest of this country, that they would support.
All right. Well, Prime Minister, thank you for taking the time to talk with us this morning. Final words to our viewers.
Well, Marlene, thank you so much. And Isani, thank you very much. It's really a privilege to be on your show. And yes, you give hard questions, and that is the way it's supposed to be. I want to assure you that our government is working hard every single day in getting this economy back on its feet, in keeping people safe with COVID, and also the issue of addressing the issue of crime. We are very optimistic. We're seeing the numbers from tourism. It's going up way faster than what was anticipated. Many people are telling us that their hotels are booked for the summer. As I pointed out, more planes are coming in. The cruise ships are going to be coming in probably by July. I think the minister have said our agricultural products continue to increase. We're exporting the BPOs. So a lot of jobs are being created. It is only that UDP left us in such a mess. It's so bad that, you know, you're still wanting to see more. We're doing our best. We're working hard. We're addressing the issue of good governance. We have already put the whistleblowers legislation already for first reading, so now it's going to House Committee, and we hope that people can come to the House Committee meetings to comment and to see how we can strengthen that. We have also sent the draft of the unjust enrichment bill to the unions for them to comment. They have, I think, until around here in early June to be able to give us their comments. We send them these bills and they never respond to us. So, you know, but we just have to proceed. We also are firmly committed to the issue of good governance. We are doing so many things to be able to ensure that we have a more open and transparent government, and that we can do best by the Belize, or for and on behalf of the Belizean people. That said, thank you so much, and wish you all a great week. To you and all our people that are watching us on TV land.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it, and stay safe. With that, we're going to go ahead.
Gracias.
With that, we're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by artist Chelsea Johnston. Of course, the Belize sign at the Lighthouse Park has gotten an upgrade, and she's going to tell us all about the designs when we come back. So please stay tuned.
This COVID update was brought to you by Foltex Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service. Working off-site doesn't mean you have to be off your game. Studies have shown that simply adding a keyboard and mouse to your laptop increases productivity by 26%. Add a monitor and you'll be 35% more productive. At Foltex Systems, we have what you need to enhance your remote work or e-learning experience. With devices such as headsets, video conferencing monitors, webcams, keyboards, mice, docking stations, all with the brands you trust. Keep connected with collaboration tools like Microsoft 365 Suite and Kaspersky, and perform efficiently no matter where you are. Foltex Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
trimming the hedges and overgrown trees, packing food supplies, ensuring that you have medical supplies and important documents are all part of your hurricane preparations. But what about your home insurance? An insurance policy with RFNG Insurance gives you the confidence that your home and possessions are protected when a natural disaster strikes. Include RFNG in your hurricane plans and join the thousands of Belizeans who have learned why it pays to get it right. RFNG Insurance is a go-to company.
Good morning, sweetie. It's time for school.
Are you a teacher or public sector employee who is thinking of owning your new home? Get the keys to your new home with Belize Bank's all-inclusive mortgage, the best financing option in Belize for your new home purchase or construction. Inclusive of all mortgage-related fees, no down payment, affordable terms, amazingly low interest rates. Visit our nearest branch to speak to one of our financial advisors to discuss how you can be one step closer to owning your new home. Some conditions apply.
And welcome back. We begin our final segment with a conversation this morning with artist Chelsea Johnston. Those of you guys who are in Belize City would have realized that the Belize sign near the Baron Bliss Lighthouse has gotten quite a facelift over the weekend, and Chelsea is the person behind it. Good morning, Chelsea.
Hi, morning. Yes, so let's start with just I'm grateful that I got the job to do so. You know, as an artist, I get to showcase my art to not only Belizeans but everyone around the world because they're coming in to see it. I've always wanted to do the Belize sign. Ever since it went up, I wanted to revamp it because from an artist perspective, it was just plain colors, just basic colors, and I wanted more. And so when I got the call from the Belize City Council that they wanted it to get a revamp, I was so, you know, thrilled to get the.
Because you already wanted to do it.
I wanted it for years. Ever since it was up, I wanted to change it. So, so I got the job.
And how do you finalize your ideas for it? There's so many different scenes that could encapsulate what Belize is.
Right.
How did you decide what you were going to use?
Well, I thought about what people saw already or would like to see, and stuff that people don't really get to see. Or they don't bring it out as much. For example, I got a lot of questioning, why did I put the ginger lily instead of the orchid flower? The orchid, you know, we're always seeing the orchid. We have plenty more flowers in Belize that we could bring out and showcase. So I changed it up and I used the ginger lily. The ginger lily is very common also, you know, when we get bouquets and stuff like that. If you go to resorts, they're always there. So, you know, it's something different than just what we normally see.
How long did it take for you to, well, I know you're sunburned, but in terms of the actual hours that were invested in painting and beautifying the Belize sign,
okay, so
what was that like?
It was not too long, about 4 days, 3 to 4 days. The sun, I got sunburned, but it wasn't that bad because the breeze was blowing, so I don't really feel it. So it's fine. And I've been doing murals, so it's something that I'm used to. I don't really, and if I'm painting, I don't really feel anything. You know, it just comes naturally. It's no bother to me.
Now we've had you since you were an art student in school on the show. Looking at where you are now, did you ever see that this was going to be your full-time career as it is now?
Actually, no, because coming out of sixth form, well, before I graduated, I did art. It was graphic design, but it was office-based for a company. So working at Maya Island Air, what I would do is come home and still paint. And so I do commission works after like the 5 o'clock hour, and then I have them pick up their paintings. And one day, you know, you had to make that decision because that's not what you want. I don't want to work for someone. I've always wanted to work for myself. I've grown up in an entrepreneur family, and that's just what we do. And I love painting, and it's just my thing. I do painting, I do graphic design, it's still art, and I do it for myself. So I don't really care about the long hours, the
sun,
because it's something that I love.
Yeah. And the commission work that you get, are you surprised by how much people are coming? But they tell you what they want, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even painting, so commission work, yes.
Yeah.
Over the pandemic, I knock on wood, I don't know where wood is, but I didn't get any downfall with my paintings. Everyone wanted something to get done, you know. They couldn't order stuff or things couldn't be shipped in, so they ordered paintings for birthdays, and it's sad. Yeah, it's sad to but I got a lot of dead paintings.
Wow.
And I always tell my customers when they pick up their paintings, I get like the little feeling that they were there while doing the painting.
Like a spiritual presence.
Yeah. And I'm not a person that really cares for that, but you know, I went through it, and because of the pandemic, that picked up to do more of those, and yeah.
What's your favorite type of work to do? Do you prefer the commission stuff or just having your freedom to be creative?
I prefer the free-on, to just do my paintings. These are both just my paintings.
Yeah.
And then, the commission comes after. Or if they give me the commission, I prefer that they just tell me, do whatever you would like to do.
Commission, you know? The painting, but
just tell me more or less that
freedom.
you would like. Say maybe I want a Jaguar painting, and then I could do something with the Jaguar painting, what I like.
How do you go about pricing your pieces though?
Okay, so prices depend on the size and the image. I always tell my customers, you can have a 4 feet painting, but you just want something simple. It would be the same price for something small. So it depends on the design and the size.
And the detailed work involved.
Because this macaw parrot is beautiful.
Right.
It's
shopping.
Yes.
It's simple, but it's rich in color and texture.
Right.
It's nice.
It seems that you're drawn to bright and colorful pieces.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, and I always tell them my paintings are always colorful, and the way I dress is very different. I dress it white, black, and nudes.
Yeah.
And my paintings are always bright.
Yeah. It's an interesting sort of juxtaposition.
Right.
Because normally we say some of us dress the way we feel, right?
Right, yeah.
And to see that you keep it basic in terms of the colors as opposed to the actual paintings that you put out is an interesting contrast.
Yeah, because even I had some people ask me, why don't you have tattoos? Because a lot of artists have tattoos because they express themselves through colors and stuff like that. And I'm not that. I'm a plain canvas. That's it. My artworks are on my paintings.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the Belize sign, and we'll go through each one that you decided to paint and why. So I think I saw, was it a tarpon that I saw? It's a fish.
It's a fish. It's a marlin.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
So that's the E.
That's the E.
Yeah.
The Z is the toucan. And then the L is the lighthouse, of course, and the L, the I.
L is
the I is the J. The L is the ginger flower. The E is a sunset, and the B is of the blue hole.
Oh, it's the blue hole. Yeah. Did you have other designs that you played around with before you decided on these ones?
Actually, only the letter Z. I wanted to put a butterfly in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, what made you change your mind?
It's just a structure. You wouldn't have seen the butterfly as much through the Z. So I picked the toucan.
Is a very
that
good
it has a lot of colors in it.
And it fits with
it fits.
bill.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. So when you're planning out your design, you're trying to think, okay, which one can you still figure out what it is?
Right, because what I do when I do my murals or paintings, I normally send my clients a graphic before. And so if I don't like the graphic, or if my clients won't like the graphic, I can fix it there instead of painting it and then have to, paint it all over again.
Yeah.
So
it's like you paint twice.
Yeah.
You do the graphic version and then the real life version.
Right.
Okay. Did you have any other element that you wanted to put in? You said that people were asking why not the orchid. You went with ginger lily.
No. Someone asked about Manatee to be there, but I did a Manatee mural downtown, so I wouldn't have put that in. But I'm hoping that I could get the other Belize sign, the one in Bottomwood Bay, so that I can, use those ideas in that design. And maybe ask the public to help me.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. What scenery they'd love for them to capture?
Capture in that one, right.
Yeah. Well, how do you, how do you approach new projects like this? So you do murals and parks. We've seen some of your work before. You do paintings. When you get something like this, how do you approach it?
It's not anything much for me. Like it could be the biggest wall, it could be the smallest painting, and I take it on. If I have to climb the scaffold, I will. I really don't hold myself back when it comes to my artwork. Actually, if you give me a bigger piece to do, it's better for me. I feel like I'm working towards something greater, and it's a better image for me, and I'm progressing. That's what I think about.
Tell us about something unique that you've done of recent. Some artwork that you've done that's unique, or that stands out to you.
I think the Belize sign. I've gotten a lot of. It went viral with the Belize sign. I met a lot of people, a lot of artists worldwide. Tourists came in. I had one from Greece, told me that he does the same thing in Greece. I had one in Mexico, Cancun, and I had another, I think it's Ireland, if I'm not mistaken. He's from Ireland, and they do the same work.
I love this idea because the sign with the name of the country is very common. In fact, Belize wasn't like novel in doing this. Everybody does it, and they kind of do the same colors, solid colors. So now we have a sign that stands out when people take their picture next to it because it has uniquely Belizean items.
I've had some people ask me if they can use it on T-shirts and hats. I would need to ask the Belize City Council if I can use the idea, even though it's my artwork. I need to ask them, and I need to then give the permission to them.
What was the reception? You were out there 3 to 4 days doing this. What was the reception from passers-by as they saw the painting come to life?
Oh, well, I had a lot of support and love from the painting. The bee was half done, and people are taking pictures because they wanted to take picture. You know, supporters would pass by and they asked me, you need something to drink, you want something to eat? So I got beers, I got Ideal, you know, I had food, whatever I needed, they gave it to me.
Nice.
Yeah. So
how does it feel? I mean, this is going to be your most photographed artwork ever.
Right.
Have you put that into perspective?
Yes, I'm that's why I told you, like, I'm thrilled from how it went so viral. Just this picture I posted yesterday morning, I think afternoon morning, and I saw it on everyone's platform, and it was so I felt so much love. Yeah.
And you know, this is such a great opportunity too, because when you think of what it shows other artists too, the possibilities. What do you tell up-and-coming artists about being able to kind of push the boundary and getting out there with their art?
Never give up. If you have to paint something or draw something every day, it could be something as simple as maybe an eye. You can see your progression with just an eye every day. Your skill will grow every day. And the moment that you put back on your skill, you kind of let it, you know, dealing with it gets watered down, and we don't want that. If you want to be an artist, you can, you know, it's just like any other career. If you want to be a singer, you can. And I wouldn't let anyone that's an artist or a younger student, if they want to be an artist. You don't have to go through business and maybe being a scientist or something like that. You can be an artist if you feel like you want to be an artist. I've had colleagues that came out of jobs that were managers at banks, and they are artists now, full-time artists. So you can do it. And Belize, right now I'm trying my best to bring art out in Belize, using my murals and stuff like that. So if I have other projects, what I do, I usually ask artists to come on and help.
Yeah.
And use that to help them go viral as well.
What's your wall wish list? Like, do you ever pass like a blank wall and say, man, I wish I could just put this on that?
There's, well, first was the Belize sign. I got that.
Let's move on.
There's one, I don't know the lane, but there's one, the Mexicans did it the other day, off of Albert Street. There's a huge wall, and I would like to do a piece right there. Just something Belize-like, but with a Belizean saying like, this is for we Belize or something like that, and you know, something nice. I have the graphic already made, so I just need okay to get a huge wall and go from there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we look forward to seeing that one too.
Right. Thank you.
All right. How do people get in touch with you if they want to get some work done?
They can contact me by calling 638-8198. My social media, I'm very known to be, you know, on social media at _ChelSkels or Chelsea Johnston Designs.
Okay. Well, Chelsea, thank you so much for coming in and telling us a bit of the backstory. It's really cool when you think about it that you've passed this sign so many times, thinking of all that you could do to it, and now you've put your stamp on it, and a very unique Belizean stamp at that too. So thank you and congrats.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to go ahead and take our final break now, and when we come back, we'll have our wrap-up, so stay tuned.
Good morning, sweetie. It's time for school.
Are you a teacher or public sector employee who is thinking of owning your new home? Get the keys to your new home with Belize Bank's all-inclusive mortgage, the best financing option in Belize for your new home purchase or construction. Inclusive of all mortgage-related fees, no down payment, affordable terms, amazingly low interest rates. Visit our nearest branch to speak to one of our financial advisors to discuss how you can be one step closer to owning your new home. Some conditions apply.
"2020 taught us the importance of being connected to the virtual world, and NextGen is here to keep its commitment to you. Even if you're physically apart, NextGen keeps you digitally connected."
Okay, everyone, thank you for following me today.
NextGen provides more than just an internet plan. They provide service plans that support all your online needs. Sign up today and get your NextGen's ultra-high-speed internet service. NextGen, powered by Central TV and Internet.
Smart continues to expand its internet coverage countrywide to help you live a smarter life.
Our villagers are very happy. They are pleased to know that Smart went the extra mile to put a tower in our village so that our villagers can get live stream on their TVs and they can get their kids doing their online classes. I want to say to Smart, thank you for making it possible for us to get internet in Gardenia Village. We really do appreciate it.
Smart continues to take the internet and mobile services to communities across Belize. Now save even more when you bundle your Smart broadband with Smart mobile services. Smart, bringing people together.
We are back. I'm still in sort of a sense of awe over the paintings.
Awe over the macaw?
Yeah, awe over the macaw. But yeah, you got to give it up for art. Yeah. It always finds a way of inspiring. Yeah. And so while that was our lighter conversation of the morning, you know, that burst of colors, you know, in terms of the butterfly, the macaw, and the Belize sign kind of woke me up in terms of my spirit. To go a bit back to our primary conversation, though, in terms of what was discussed with the Prime Minister, Marlene, I think his position or his positions on some of the topics are rather interesting. The fact that he reiterated quite firmly that the government is now moving forward with respect of the standoff that existed or perhaps continues to exist with the unions, but the fact that they are prepared now to go ahead and carry out what they have in store and plan. I found that interesting because on one hand you would have people who say, well, more should have been done in terms of his direct involvement, but on the other hand you have people who are saying, well, in fact, perhaps it has worn out its time and it's, you know, it's high time to continue on in a normal course. I found that as something that stood out in the conversation.
I wish he would have responded to the question on whether or not it could have been handled differently, because when we look at it, one of the things that we cannot forget to note here is that this is the longest strike in Belize's history. There's no other strike that has lasted as long as this particular one. I can say that thankfully it has been a peaceful one, which is something that we can all be proud of. But it still isn't over as yet. In fact, we usually get an update from the Public Service Union over the weekend. We haven't gotten anything as yet, but the last we heard from them, the trade dispute still is ongoing. The teachers union have said that their strike is merely on hold and they are exploring legal options. So it's still not over as yet. But as you rightly said, the Prime Minister noted that they are moving forward. So that's the position that we have so far. And he said he is willing to come to the table when it is to finalize finalize the situation. But that's something that's yet to be seen.
He also sought to allay the fears of the public with respect of the reopening of the land borders for tourists visiting Belize. It's been a pressing concern for a number of people, including collective bodies such as the Medical and Dental Association, and the position that they have taken in terms of their fears for reopening. And so to hear from him the fact that his administration has put in place virtually everything that it can, when you also look at the idea of the free zone having been reopened successfully, and of course the Philip Goldson International Airport.
Well, I guess from the other point of view, it is important that he acknowledge that they are monitoring and that, in fact, if a situation is flagged, they are prepared to close back down or close down or change, I should say, course on what they're doing currently. He's absolutely right that so far with the arrivals at the airport, there haven't been a mass number of tourists coming in who have tested positive. And in fact, the process itself lends to a safer approach because they have to present their test, so they know they're negative when they arrive or they get tested at the airport. If that is the process that continues at the border, then let's hope the results are the same as well. But for me, I think the big news coming out is also looking at the acquisition of additional vaccinations, especially the Johnson & Johnson. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine is a single-dose vaccine, which is going to be really critical, I think, moving forward, where people won't have to reschedule to come back for a second one, as many of us are waiting for a second right now. It's easy to fall short. It's easy to kind of let your guard down during that time. And if they get the Johnson & Johnson vaccines, when someone is convinced to go in for it, it's one and done. So looking forward to that. But that was, of course, there were quite a few other things that the Prime Minister discussed, and so we do appreciate him joining us this morning to be able to briefly discuss some of these issues. And we also want to thank artist Chelsea Johnson. The sign, the Belize sign, is beautiful. And you know what? It's not just some generic looking sign. It is stamped with some of the things that we are blessed to be able to see in Belize on a regular basis. And, you know, I love that Chelsea is just so humble about the amount of she's so talented.
Yeah.
And she's able to really ensure that she shares her art in many different ways, from canvas paintings, commission pieces, graphics and murals. And so we're grateful for all the talent that we do have in this country. And now people get to enjoy that artwork at the Belize sign.
Definitely.
All right, but that's all the time we have for today. If you'd like to contact us, send us an email at oye@channel5belize.com. You can also find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ and on Instagram at OYEBelize. Remember to tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30.
When you open your eyes,
to start your morning right. Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your hearts open.
We'll see you soon. Enjoy your day.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.